Hello and welcome to the training on how to raise emotionally intelligent children. And I'm your host, Darya Haitoglou. I'm a psychologist and a relationship coach. And based on the practice of working with families and couples, as well as experience of being a mother of young children, I would like to share with you today some facts, scientific research in the field of psychology and neuroscience on how to help our children to be more emotionally advanced and intelligent. Now, when I say children, I mean pretty much everyone because we are all children grown big. So today what I'm going to share with you will really impact everyone, including yourself and people who you live with, deal with, work with, and really take this time to really, grab a piece of paper and a pen and jot down as many ideas and concepts and some practical advice. I'm going to share do's and don'ts on how to really work with children both at home and also as generally if you work with children in your profession, as well as creating a foundation and strategies to deal with emotional outbursts or tantrums for children and some negative emotions of generally adults, and we all have those moments when we are out of our balance. So why are we doing this, and especially why am I doing this with you now? Well, I have a mission and I would like to share that with you, and so you can join me to help more than 1 billion people create congruent, love-rich, blame-free families and individuals. And why is that important? Because when we have our families that are love-rich and blame-free, we create conditions for ourselves and for future generations, our children and grandchildren to come, creating conditions for us to live a happy life, to be creative, to be free, to be loved and love. And I believe this is why we're here in this planet. So welcome and hope you can join my mission. So let's move in and talk about emotional intelligence and what it is and why we're talking about this today. So emotional intelligence really started popping up in our informational sort of streams when Dan Goleman wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence more than 20 years ago. It actually was in 1995. And after that, we started being curious as a nation and internationally, talking about emotional intelligence versus general intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? If we look at 4 quadrants, 4 different areas, what it comprises of, and there are different definitions, but I really like this one. So the first element, the first quadrant, is self-awareness. That means how much are we in tune with our own emotions and feelings, and can we really identify them? So when a child is angry, for example, instead of just hitting or kicking or screaming, they could identify and say, I am angry. Also, helping your child do that will really increase their emotional intelligence. The second quadrant is self-control or management of our own emotions. And that is very important for emotional intelligence. That is not just being able to identify, but actually correct our emotions. In the heat of a moment, that's the most difficult, but really prevention and cure. So it's learning how to correct and control our emotions. The third quadrant is called empathy. Empathy is understanding how other people feel and identifying and being able to name that and observe and notice what's going on with other people's feelings. And the fourth quadrant is a relationship building, the social skills. So being able to build strong relationships, that is a massive quadrant for raising and enhancing emotional intelligence. So all of that comprises EQ. Now, just a side note, so all the images from Pixabay, the credits goes there. And just a moment to reflect on the future. We will see a lot more technology, a lot more stress, robotics, and demands on our neurology. So thinking about EQ, that's like investing in something that's going to be valuable in the future because we know it. It used to be IQ was the most important for getting a job. Now we see more and more, and I worked in one of the biggest corporations in the world, and I was head of recruitment of the central office in Switzerland. And we recruited 100 to 200 people per year. And a lot of that was really looking at their also EQ as well as IQ. Now, it's becoming even more important in the workplace and also social environment and social media. And we know it will be more important when the robotics come to play. So how do we really help us manage our emotions, how to empathize with people, especially in the world where we see a lot of stress? And that is not changing. Actually, a stress level will only rise. We know from the research that the nuclear family, as we knew it, is not longer a very relaxed one. Look at, just taking my own example, I come from Russia. My husband comes from Greece. We give birth to our children in Switzerland. Now we live in the UK. And these are all different countries, cultures, and also backgrounds. And a lot of stress, a lot of demands from different parts of our life, especially when there's no support. It used to be that, a family, a child would be part of a bigger community where grandparents would be participating, where, aunties and uncles were part of that. Now, a nuclear family travels a lot, lives in a city where it's surrounded by different people who are not necessarily relating to this family. And, grandparents may not be there. Our grandparents are in different parts of the world, and they're helping us maybe on holidays only. So how do we create conditions where we can be stress resilient, where we can manage stress levels in a way that would help our children to also create their foundation for being emotionally intelligent? So stress is very much linked to neurology, and I want to share a few pieces of information about that. Now, if there is a stress that triggers the reptilian brain, the back of our head, that sends a signal, let's say a dangerous signal, something is wrong, to amygdala. It's like an almond-shaped gland in the middle of your brain. And amygdala is very much a limbic system that is responsible for flight or fight response. So if we just react, yes, if we just go into instincts, we will be like animals, reacting and fighting and freezing or sort of running away. And that's what a child does. Now, the role of a parent is to really help them learn certain tools and strategies to train their prefrontal cortex, that is an area of the prefrontal lobe, which helps to regulate emotions and calm down dangerous signals that comes from the reptilian brain that perceive, the dangerous external stimuli. Now, we don't have lions anymore. We don't really have those dangerous moments apart from, let's say, running cars on the street. That's a good stimulus to actually stop and run away or do something about it. But most of our stimuli come from a social environment, from interactions, from relationships. And to learn these skills, how to really teach our prefrontal cortex to identify certain stimuli, where they come from, and not take it personally, so not feel not to identify with those and not take them personally, is very, very important, because child stress is very much linked to those stimuli that they perceive as dangerous. And as a parent, you play a role of that prefrontal cortex for your child when they're little. They don't have that area of the brain as developed as you. So your role is to, first of all, calm down and relax yourself and learn certain strategies that help you control your emotions. So the best thing that you can do for your child is learn how to be emotionally intelligent yourself. And here I would like to share a little bit about the emotional dynamic. Why is that important? Because all emotions, they're not good or bad. They are there for a reason. Our body and mind are so connected that we are all starting from the place of fear. Fear is a basic emotion. Some psychologists argue there are 5 or 6 basic emotions, like Paul Ekman's work, for example, and identifying those across countries, across cultures, just from the facial expressions. Whereas, Isaac and there are other theories talking about 8 or 9 different basic emotions. So let's say the basic is a fear. Okay, fear is run by adrenaline, and adrenaline, when is flooded into blood, we feel scared, and our main reaction would be to freeze. So if we don't do anything with the fear, and if it's not manifested, if it's not recognized, it kind of gets trapped and then it transforms into anger. Noradrenaline that supports anger is released in the body, and if the anger is not recognized either and it's not allowed to manifest itself in a constructive way, let's say by moving around and doing sport or martial arts or dancing or whatever, if the anger is not getting out of our system, then it transforms into sadness. Melatonin, sadness as an emotion. And sometimes in our cultures we say, for example, oh, you're so sad. We want people to be happy. And that also sometimes traps that emotion and does not allow it to release itself, for example, through crying. And when sadness is trapped and not released, then it transforms itself into disgust. Disgust is a very difficult emotion to deal with because it has kind of layers. It's like an onion that you need to peel to really understand where it comes from. A lot of the time it comes from that fear, original fear. So until we peel those emotions and recognize all of them and let them be, and that's why in psychotherapy we like to have the psychodynamic expressions, and I've created a movement called the stance dance, which is a combination of dynamic exercises, a dance, a little bit of meditation, and family therapy together. And there are different avenues where you can help your child to really express their emotions congruently, and having that outlet is very important also in the family. So moving on, in terms of crying, I just wanted to mention something very important. In our culture, especially for boys, I see a lot of parents mentioning to boys, well, you shouldn't cry, boys don't cry, or, I mean, these are really horrible phrases, because this is the time when a child has something inside them. It may come from fear and unreleased anger because they've been punished, for example, for anger, or they're afraid of being punished by you. So they go straight into sadness and crying is a beautiful process because it releases endorphins that are sort of natural drugs that medicate us to feel good. So we turn from sadness into joy, and oxytocin floods in the blood. And that is a process that should be allowed for children. Let them cry when they want to. Welcome that and say, look, it's okay to cry. If you want to cry, take your time, and I'll be back when you finish. And don't react to that emotionally yourself or negatively. That's the best you can do is really create an outlet for your children to cry. Now, what are your children's needs? Because when they cry, when they are angry, when they're scared, we need to understand why, right? And understand why, we need to really look into the child's needs. Now, they're not something difficult to understand. There are fundamental 6 needs that come from the psychology of human needs. So the first one is security, stability, and safety. So is your child safe? Does he or she feel safe with you at home, at school, with friends, etc.? So these are fundamental, basic child's need. The second one is variety. Is your child stimulated enough? Are they bored, or are they happy with different stimuli? Now, in the era of gadgets and technology, I think, and I know, and it comes from research, but I think that's very important for us as parents to really help our children regulate the time that they spend in front of gadgets, because they influence the brain development, and they get bored very quickly because the stimuli have been so fast moving. The cartoons have increased in speed and changing the photo frame, the picture frame, just to catch up with sort of the temptation to get interested. Because we look at you now, I mean, how multitasking are you? And this multitasking also creates stress. So all this additional stimuli when we're doing things, when we're listening and typing and reading and cooking, all together, that's additional stress. And when you don't feel calm and relaxed and centered, your children will pick it up. So they will also react to that, okay? So variety is very much linked to educational variety, not entertainment variety. And educational variety is about engaging with your children in a different way. and that's what they really want. They don't want those cartoons. Also, they say they want them because that's a very nice kind of delicious dessert. It's like eating ice cream all day long, but it's not really healthy, because when you eat ice cream, for it's a lot of sugar, and then they get sort of crazy, and they want more, and they start going into tantrums and outbursts, etc. So you need to really take that control as a parent and help them regulate themselves. So number one, security needs. Second one, variety need. The third need is significance. How much do you respect them as a human being, especially if they're 7 and above? Teenagers, paramount important. They want to be respected by you as a human being, as a young adult. So seeing that and recognizing that is very important. The fourth one is love and connection. And this is, as well as the first one, there two prime ones for the babies, for the 1-year-olds until they're toddlers, and then they get more and more into the growing need. So the fourth one is the love and connection. The fifth one is growing. Okay, the need for growth, that is development, that is life. So how do you encourage them to grow? How much do you support them in growing? And the sixth one is the contribution, the need for contribution. They love to help. Children generally love to help. So if you encourage them to help and create conditions for them to help you to do the dishes, to help with the cleaning, to help with washing, to help with anything that they would be really needed, but not judgmentally needed. It's like, oh, please help me because you never help me. No, really ask for help, and they would then develop their empathy, that emotional intelligence we talked earlier. So moving on and talking a little bit about child's attachment. That's also a very important piece for your child's emotional intelligence. Now we talked about the needs, and it's very much linked to the attachment. So once you identify those needs, you can start satisfying those needs, especially the top first need for your child and the top 3 needs for your children. So please identify, and better write them down, know them. Maybe they will not be able to tell you if they're little, but if they're already grown-up children, they will tell you what they need. And helping them in these needs would create that beautiful bond, that attachment that you as a parent can give them, especially through kinesthetic, but also through mental stimulation, talking and identifying what they're thinking and how to help them with the projects that they're busy doing. Now let's move into do's and don'ts, and I'd like to start with don'ts. So what shouldn't we do for our children to help them be more emotionally advanced? So please don't do the following. Don't label. Okay, labeling is one of the things that I see a lot in families, and it's unwillingly. When a parent says, for example, a child doesn't speak a lot, and they say, oh, he's a shy one. Okay, these labels, they stick for a long time, and children, they live up to expectations of their parents. So if that is something that a parent identifies and expect them to be a shy one, they will be shy for a very long time. Or if a child kicks, or they get angry and they kicks a sibling, for example, say, oh, you're such a bully. Now, these are the labels that have consequences. Please restrain from them, and especially notice how you talk. So your speech, your phrases, even your thoughts, because your thoughts, once in a while, they will appear in your language, even if you don't notice them. Okay, so we really pay attention to labeling. Why questions? Now, that's an interesting and controversial one. And I've got an example here, but I would like to just pay your attention to your why questions, because the majority of the time your why question is loaded. For example, why haven't you done this? Why are you late? Yeah, this is not really an investigative question that you're curious about. You're actually blaming that, but it's a hidden blame, and children feel that. They know when you're blaming them, and they don't like it. So here's an example. A child comes and says, I'm not prepared for this test. The wrong answer or question really would be, why didn't you prepare? Because that is a loaded question. Now, the right way to approach this would be to say, so tell me, what's going on in your life right now? What made it so hard to prepare for this test? Then listen and validate. Then a parent, can say, okay, well, we have a problem. Let's think about what your options are here, and help them to identify what you can do to help them. Okay, this is a different way to connect and to help them. Judging, oh please, I mean, we all know that judgment does not work. We know it with ourselves. When a partner starts judging us or blaming us, we protect. We straight away go into our amygdala. We don't use our prefrontal cortex. And when we don't use our prefrontal cortex, we don't learn. We don't have flexibility of our mind. We don't adjust to situations. We just fight or freeze. Okay, so judgment is that no go for emotional intelligence. This is the antidote for it. So as soon as you reduce or actually eliminate judgment, and there are ways to do that, and I can help you, you can book a consultation with me for free, and I can teach you how to really eliminate judgment. Judgment gone, love in. Okay, love in, and then your emotional intelligence of your children will be flooded, will be creating this beautiful foundation for your children to succeed in life and be happy. Now, the next no is ability praise. What is an ability praise? You probably have heard when parents say, oh, he's such a clever one, he's so smart, she's beautiful. Okay, these are sort of traits and ability praise. Now, why is that dangerous? Because when children don't feel that they live up to these expectations, when they don't feel that they are clever, smart, or beautiful, when they don't, when they can't solve a problem, for example, they go like, huh, my mom wants me to be smart and I'm not. So they either start hiding that and lying, or they manipulate the situation so they can show off something that is not really there, and it becomes superficial. So they will always live up to expectations of yours as parents, but they will manipulate the reality, which is not what you want, because you want them to be congruent and happy with who they are, and help them, stimulate them, create the conditions for them to challenge themselves, rather than kind of label and praise for their ability. It's abilities like, okay, you're born with it or you're not born with it, so you can't really do much about being smart or being lucky. Oh, you're lucky. Well, what is more helpful, and I'll talk about do's in a moment. Let's finish with the don'ts first. So the last one is feeling charged. That is like a storm in a family. Feeling charged, that emotional charge. When a child perceives that, imagine like an airplane and a pilot driving suddenly becomes emotionally charged. Okay, what happens with passengers? They freak out. It's like, if the pilot doesn't know how to control himself or herself and fly the plane, who am I? How can I do that? So children feel that when they see you emotionally charged, they freak out themselves, and that is not helping. That again sends a trigger to sends a trigger to amygdala to hijack it and say, whoa, I will show you. Then if I am the one to take control of that, I will show you how it should be. But they don't know how. So because there is not developed prefrontal cortex, and you're not playing your role to regulate that for them, they will go ballistic sometimes. And that is because they want you to feel calm and to feel neutral, to feel that balance. So now let's move into do's. Okay, the first one is, I love this. It's seeing a diamond inside. Look at the eyes of this girl. I mean, they are like windows to her soul. And through the eyes, just looking in your child's eyes, see that diamond inside them. Because the diamond, the concept of a diamond is like, okay, it sits in a rock. Imagine soil and it's dirty, and it's covered with sort of an eggshell sugary crust that every person wants to show to others. Now that sugary crust protects that soil. I call it shit. And it's really that shitty behavior that we don't like. And we sometimes, hate certain behavior that we don't like about ourselves as well. And the idea is we need to crack that shell, that sugary crust, to be able for the shit to come out and see that diamond, polish that diamond, take care of it. So this diamond inside is always connected to some sort of rough, raw, shitty, expression of it, because it's part of the nature. So you need to see through that and remember that your role is to polish that diamond. The second do is 5-to-1 ratio. It is actually an exercise when for every negative interaction you find 5 positives. So for example, when you have a thought, oh, this is going to be an awful day. Oh, it's a negative thought. So how about finding 5 positives? Well, it's a sunshine. It's maybe a good day. We had a good lunch. I had a really good conversation. My child gave me a hug, and we're going to go to a nice place and holiday finally in 2 weeks. So these are very important to create a buffer, to create a prevention technique for your prefrontal cortex to feel good. And that's what you want. That's how you can help yourself and help a little person. So you can teach them and say, look, let's play 5-to-1. So one time when you behave or you think or say something bad, we need to have 5 positives. So say I love you, hug me 5 times, or do something nice for me, and you can even put it on a chart. That's very effective for children. They love following your expectations and advice that is constructive. Okay, the next one is consequences. Consequences, they are so important. They create discipline, they create routine, but these need to be done in a calm way. So for example, when a child, I had this earlier actually this week, when my child was like, okay, we were leaving the playground, and they were like, no, I'm not gonna leave this playground, I want to play. I'm like, okay, we agreed that 30 minutes it is enough, and we're gonna go home. Now it's 30 minutes and we're gonna go. So if you're not going, unfortunately there will be consequences. Okay, we will have less time for our reading at night before going to sleep. And they're like, okay, well, I don't want to read, I just want to play. Okay, so you have 10 more minutes to play, but then we will not read before going to bed. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. They agree, thinking, oh, of course, I will then ask for a story and then my mom will tell me. No. When we come home and they say, well, tell us a story, read us, please. And I say, guys, we agreed that you chose to play in the playground instead of reading a story. And these are the consequences. I love you, but I cannot afford you breaking our promises. So that's how we operate in our family. And then they know the next time they will not jeopardize. They will remember this. They will help you to follow up on those consequences. But it's very important to really say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't create outrageous, ridiculous consequences like, no cartoon for a month, or, no ice cream at all. No, just make them small, tangible, and the ones that are going to really, they're going to understand, and they're going to feel that something is lacking. So there are some consequences. If you go to a restaurant and they are really misbehaving, just tell them, look, if you're not really behaving well, we're going to leave, and leave, okay? And follow up. That's what they're looking for. Affirmations. Just say, I love you, and thank you for being in my family, thank you for being born in our family, and thank you for being this wonderful child. You're so amazing, and I love you, even sometimes when you misbehave, when you do something bad, I still love you. So saying that often is really, really good. Praise progress. Oh, you've done something better than you did yesterday, so you've learned. This is really, really good for children. They love it. And you don't need to praise for ability. You praise for progress. Hug more. Okay, that's super important. Hug 12 times a day to really create that bonding connection. Mirror. Learn how to pace first. Pacing your child. So if they're playing a video game, sit down next to them. Say, oh, I didn't realize that you can do that level, and this is actually quite a funky move. They start nodding to you, and that's when you say, okay, well, it's great that you played. Now can you help me with this and that, and pick up your toys or whatever? And then they'll be more likely to to do that because of the mirror neurons. The mirror neurons, these are wonderful neurons that help us empathize, help us develop that sense of intuition, and also connect with everyone because we influence everyone unwillingly. So when you create that beautiful state of yours and that is calm and relaxed and welcoming and loving, your children will pick it up and they will learn. Now, family dynamics is very important. Just a few words here. We say, that an apple is from an apple tree. So we need to look into the family of origin and the roots where the children come from. And for that, I can help you. I'm a psychologist and I work with families and I help them to reconstruct some of the let's say incongruent patterns to turn them into congruent, and I offer a free consultation. We can really look into your family dynamics to help you create a plan to increase your child's emotional intelligence. Now, tantrums, a few words about this and how to really deal with them, because they're not going to work if you're just out there and you blame them, so stop it, or this is ridiculous, or you start throwing a tantrum yourself. No, what you need to do is say, okay, fine. So you want to cry and throw yourself on the floor? Look, I will just wait for you 5 minutes. It's okay for you to do that. If you really want to attract the attention, that's okay with me. Or we can go and do something fun, like have a dessert. Would you like that? So which one do you prefer? If you give them a chance to choose, 90% of children would choose the better one. So by you staying calm, by you connecting, mirroring in the sense that you say, okay, I understand that you wanted that toy. I understand that you didn't want to do that. And it really hurt when your brother took or your sister kicked you or, pulled you. So engage in mirroring and then saying, okay, you've got two choices. Which one do you choose? And then when they choose, you follow it up. Safety, creating that safe net for them to feel that they can trust you by you not blaming and judging them, but by really empathizing and seeing how they feel and looking into their eyes would create the bond rather than them hiding and finding safety ground somewhere and maybe freezing and not letting you get into the world, and that would create additional emotions like anger, sadness, and disgust, as we talked. So creating the safety net for them, an environment in your family for them to feel open, loved, and cherished. Traffic light theory, just a wonderful exercise that I think I've created, but maybe other people use that as well. So when, for example, in our family, we're in good mood and everything is fine, I say, well, guys, I'm in a green zone. Well done. It's really cool. And I teach the children as well. So if they like something, they should say, I've got a green light, and we sometimes give them stickers or highlight in green. And then if something is happening that I don't like, that that boiling feeling of like something is really annoying, I say, hey, watch out, I'm in a yellow zone. And I again ask them to tell me, so I don't guess, but to tell me when they're in a yellow zone. And when something dangerous happens or something that's out of the balance and I cannot control myself or they cannot control themselves, they say, I'm in a red zone, and then we create consequences of if we are in a yellow zone, we hug. If we're in the red zone, we hug more. And if sometimes we have difficulties to hug, we say, look, I need some time to think about it, and then please hug me. So we communicate using this traffic light exercise, and it's a wonderful theory to really put in practice. And the last one, I want to just remind you that put yourself in their position, take their standpoint and look at the situation from their eyes. It will really help you immensely, because understanding them will help you help them. So taking their stance, and maybe even a third one, like an independent position, meta position, what would a stranger say if they see this child, this parent, and what would they advise this family to do? So that is very helpful, and it helps me a lot to take that meta position and the second position of a child to understand their point of view. Be together and stay together, create that bond, stay calm, and your emotional intelligence of your children and your family will raise. And I am happy to help you because I have a wonderful tools. I have a positivity tool. It's a free 7-day positivity challenge for your communication. I also have a program online. It's called Enrich Your Relationship that helps emotional intelligence massively. And of course, my individual consultation. So get in touch with me. Send me an email email at info@daryahaitoglou.com, and I look forward to seeing you and working with you. So thank you so much for being with me, and I look forward to hearing from you how you liked it, and also if you really think that someone can benefit from this training, please just forward, let them know about it. I look forward to helping out more people in this world. Take care and have a great day. Bye.